Great.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. Your leadership is just so important for all of us in the global tribe, all of us doing international work, all of us doing work, living, looking to have an impact on our family, on our community, and certainly on our business. And so Masami Sato knows not just a little bit about leadership. She's had a phenomenal journey where she was an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, and she recognized that there was something else that she wanted to accomplish, something bigger. And so she walked away essentially from a successful business and started a journey that has now gotten her to the point where the impact she's having is monumental around the world. And so undoubtedly some of that will come out in today's conversation. She'll be talking about the unexpected leadership journey. Many times we're all thrown into a circumstance where we're tested, to see how we will react to a situation, and it goes right to the core of who we are. And undoubtedly, Masami, you have done that yourself, where you've been in situations where you didn't necessarily want to be. In some cases, you did want to be there, and you then had to find something deeper within you, something you'd never been able to do before because you hadn't been in that situation before. So we look forward to understanding more about your journey and how we can learn from that, and also the insights that you've received from your own experiences and from those experiences of people you've been working with for the past decades. Thank you for being here at Global Chamber. Thank you for sharing this information to us, and we look forward to learning. Arigato gozaimashita.
So let me begin by thanking everybody for actually taking a moment to join in on this online session. And, regardless of where you are today, I am so grateful that you tuned in, and I can connect from London today, whilst I spend majority of my time this year traveling around the world, connecting and engaging in interesting spaces. So today's topic, so let me just share my, so you can see, it's not just blank. So, okay, here we go. So today's topic, as we begin, I just want to start by this question. So why are you here? And why are we here today? And I think there was something that brought you to this topic of what the future of leadership look like, and also there are lots of things you probably may have in mind today. So the world of business today has many different questions, but the questions are changing today. So let me just raise some of the interesting kind of like numbers or statistics we can look at. So in today's world, 60% of global CEOs actually believe their current business models would not be here in 5 years' time. And 5 years used to feel like a quite long time that felt like, or a short time, that felt like things will be the same in 5 years' time. But actually, more than half the businesses are thinking that their business wouldn't be here in 5 years' time. And at least the model that we are working on would not be here. Another thing is 80% of business leaders say AI will be their competitive edge today. However, only 14% actually know where they're heading with AI, and they are AI ready. Another fact, 63% of consumers now, they say they buy based on brand values of companies. But actually, only about 25% of brands today or businesses today are actually seen as authentically purpose-driven. So what is it happening in the world now. So whilst the business space is getting very, very disrupted, actually the world itself is also very disruptive. So some of the numbers of what's happening in the world. So 785 million people still lack access to clean water. 2.3 billion people don't have access to adequate education. 10 million hectares of forest are lost each year. So this is just what's happening in the world. And it's unimaginable big challenges that none of us might know how to fix by ourselves. But these are the things that we need to tackle, because when we don't tackle these issues, we are going to collectively face sustainability issue. So back to the question of why we are here today. Today we are here because we are going to talk about the leadership and what leadership could look like, and also the kind of leadership that actually created the much needed sustainability and hope for our future. Because we know when we feel desperate and we feel like we don't have a future to look forward to, we are not talking about issues such as lack of resources or lack of knowledge or lack of technology. What we are talking about is actually the fact that we feel that the leadership that we have may not be leading us to this sustainable future. So sustainability issue is actually very much a leadership issue in today's world, because if we actually mobilize all of our technology, all of our opportunity, all of our knowledge and expertise and resources, and together work toward creating sustainable future, we actually can create the sustainability we need. So this topic is really about creating a purpose, meaning, and impact-driven work and life, and how we do so. And create the true, sorry for the typo, but the true sustainability. Anyway, looking at this picture, so I use this picture quite a lot to talk about the symbol of sustainability, because the things like small act of pollination in our world, in our natural world, is the true source of sustainability in our environment. So most of our food supplies in today's world is created because of this simple act of pollination. But when we think about our business world, this pollination happens every day as well. You know, the little conversations we have in business, the services we provide, the product that we sell and receive, all of these things are actually part of the pollination, like pollinating activities that our businesses are doing. But perhaps something is missing in our day-to-day business activities that's leading to the lack of sustainable direction. Now, this happens when we actually look at the natural world as a whole, because so many species today are going extinct now. And these are some of the pictures of endangered species in today's world. We are losing part of our elements of our true sustainability because of the way the world is today. And so today I want to introduce you to one of the amazing leaders of all time and my favorite person in the world, called this person. I think you are familiar with. Sir David Attenborough. So I'm in London today, so I'm in United Kingdom. So I think I'm a little bit closer to him today. But what I want to introduce you to is something that he said in this program called Life on Our Planet. And if you watched this show, you might remember this powerful quote that he left us with. So let's play.
There are many differences between humans and the rest of the species on Earth, but one that has been expressed is that we alone are able to imagine the future. For a long time, I, and perhaps you, have dreaded that future. But it's now becoming apparent that it's not all doom and gloom. There's a chance for us to make amends, to complete our journey of development, manage our impact, and once again become a species in balance with nature. All we need is the will to do so. We now have the opportunity to create the perfect home for ourselves and restore the rich, healthy, and wonderful world that we inherited. Just imagine that.
So Sir David Attenborough said that the human beings are one of the species, like only species, that can imagine the future. And when we can imagine the future, we actually can create it. And that's how we today have amazing technologies ahead of us that will allow us to turn our imagination into reality. So just imagine that. So just imagine that you actually are facing one of the most amazing times in our humanity, the history of humanity, that we actually can turn our imagination, our will, our intent into actual reality faster and more effective in a more effective ways than ever before. So whilst it feels like quite overwhelming to be thinking about those big challenges or the pace of the change that we are seeing in our world, we are also seeing the greatest opportunity in our lifetime to make things happen with that clear intent to really create a world that allows every one of us to thrive. So the question is, what do we need to do? And I think it starts with shifting our perspectives, that actually, instead of feeling that, oh, actually, here's a big problem, we can't do anything about this because it's so huge, to actually, why don't we do small things and then start making a positive change, positive action, positive impact. So for me, so I said that I will share a little bit about my journey and my story, and why the topic of this session was called Unassumed Leadership, because I actually didn't opt in to becoming a leader. I didn't have a plan to become a business leader, but it was accidental path for me. And how it began was when I became a parent and a mother for the first time. So I had my little girl called Myra. And when she was born, for me, like everything changed, because I used to feel that the world problem was too big. I traveled around the world backpacking, and I saw so many challenges that the people faced. But until I had my daughter, I could always say that, I'm just a little person. I don't know how to fix all of the problems. So I just got by with my life and kept going. But when my daughter was born, I felt that I had to do something. So that's when I decided to become a business person and started my very first business, which was a fast food takeaway. So that's me and my daughter on my back, because she was 3 months old when I first started my very first business. And we worked in the business like this together. And I didn't know how to really run a business, because I didn't, go to a business school to learn about all of the business concept, and I didn't do MBA program. So for me, business really was about making things happen every day by learning from customers, learning from experiences, and just improving things every day. And eventually, after 5 or 6 years later, after I started this tiny business, my business evolved to become a healthy meal production company that had frozen packaged meals to provide healthy eating options to busy working family. So we had gluten-free food, organic food, and to try to make sure that even busy working family had access to healthy food, because food was my passion. So I chose food business. So at one point of time, when I was running this frozen food wholesale company, which had a distribution channel of like about 150 stores across Australian states, at one point of time, I paused and thought to myself, I started this business because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to give profits away to help street children who didn't have a same kind of opportunity that my kids had. But when I kept saying that one day when our business is making more money or bigger, I would do something, then that one day didn't seem to be coming somehow. because every time we had another, sale or another retail store joins us, we could always find the reasons to spend more money on new freezer room, more new packaging, more marketing, and so on. So we were putting money back into business and then still thinking one day we would do something great. So one day this very simple idea came to me, and I thought, instead of trying to do big thing one day, what if we did something small and did it every day? And I realized that if we did that, we could start from that day. We didn't need to wait anymore because it's a small thing. So for our product, we decided to provide a meal, give a meal for every meal we sold. And we found that channel of doing so. We found NGO organizations, like nonprofit organization that was doing, providing free lunches and meals to kids at school in India. And I traveled to India, so India came quite close to me. So I thought just by giving about 20 cents per meal, we could actually give one meal to a child and give that child greater opportunity to continue to go to school, to get the free meal, but to focus on the study, and then to have a greater opportunity in life as he or she complete the primary school education and aspire to go to the higher education. So I realized that there's this profound impact in the way I shifted my perspective from trying to do big thing to just doing small things and doing it regularly. So that concept of giving for every action and transaction became the basis of the work today, which is called B1G1 today. And just to give you a quick introduction of our work, I'm going to play this quick video. So enjoy. Today, our life is enabled by the truly interconnected world. But when we look around, we see so many challenges that we need to overcome. And we can feel powerless. But what if our businesses can become the vehicle to make a real difference just by doing what we normally do?
For every website we build, we give 2 days of education to women in need.
Every check-in at our gym gives access to life-saving water.
Every coaching session gives opportunities to health and education to children around the world.
Every additional client that joins us helps us contribute to the Philippine communities.
Every month, we provide support to ensure that 60 families can learn to prevent human trafficking.
Every workout done with us makes a difference. We are working to deliver millions of days of support to people in need.
As a B1G1 member, you're helping us bring enormous benefits to communities in need right around the world. You're also helping us maintain, grow, and expand those activities very effectively. The bottom line is simply this: we're transforming lives together with you.
B1G1 makes it easy for businesses like us to create, measure, and track the impacts that we make around the world.
Already, thousands of businesses have joined us to become businesses for good. And we have collectively created millions of impacts around the world. Every business can now become part of the solution. We really can work together to ensure the sustainable future for our next generation.
With B1G1, our clinic has given 42,000 days of education,
53,000 days of life-saving water,
2,400 trees planted,
more than 3,000 days of medical support,
930 days of education provided.
Join us and become a business for good. So that's the work B1G1 that the simple idea evolved into. And so I think this part of my story can share with you how small act of actually taking simple action can lead to amazing impact when we do it together. And I think this bringing people together requires a new type of leadership today. And it's not about somebody actually saying, this is what we have to do, and then do it alone, and then prove that you can actually do great things. Now, the new way of leadership is actually making people care about what we can do together and give idea that people can own themselves. And today, B1G1, I checked the actual counter of B1G1, and our collective impact has reached 375 million impacts. And this is only possible because we are doing it together. We cannot do it alone. I could not do it alone with my food company. So when I realized the profoundness of this idea, and that was starting with my own food business experience as an entrepreneur. But 18 years ago, I then decided to sell my business in Australia and move to Singapore with 2 little children to start B1G1 as the initiative so that we could build the platform, we could create the method and the processes, we could pitch to lots of businesses, introduce the idea, and then create a structure where all these different businesses can create impacts in their own way and do it together. So that's kind of like a power of small in action. Now, all of these impacts link to the global goal. So if you have ever seen this symbol of global goals, initially created by United Nations, the global goal wasn't about this is the way we have to follow to actually make a difference. But the global goal invited all of the businesses, all of the individuals around the world to take the part in all of the priorities that we have in our world. Because we could say sustainability is an environmental issue, but actually environmental issue is really truly can be resolved when we uplift everyone. Because today, if there are still families who do not have access to clean water, and people are actually, young children are having diarrhea and dying, or people don't have a income generating work opportunities, then of course they will cut down the forest and sell the land. And so actually all of the challenges in our world are linked together. And what we need to do is to work together to uplift everyone. And that starts with the new way of leadership. Now, in B1G1, like what I discovered and what we discovered over the years is that to create real sustainability and real impact, we have to have kind of pillars in the way that work. And every business also needs to think about their values and their culture and their methodology and what constitute as their pillars to make your work more sustainable and meaningful as well. So as an example, B1G1's case is that we focus on 3 things: impact, habit, and connection. Because we cannot just change the world by doing one big thing once off, but we have to do things that matter, things that create a real impact, but do it habitually. And then do it in such a way that bring people together. So impact leads to the real sustainability because we are all taking action to create a positive change than wishing and hoping that somebody else will fix our problem. And habit matters because when we turn something into our habit, then it's really create our business culture. So imagine a company where people come together with a giving spirit, that the team members are coming to work every day, not because they get paid more or they can get more leave, but because they feel fulfilled by doing their work and understanding that they are here to make a difference together. And if that is actually happening every day, that turns into real culture of the business. And thirdly, it's connection. Connection creates meaning that people around the world are increasingly seeking belonging, the sense of belonging. When COVID happened and the pandemic impacted all of us, there was an enormous surge of mental health challenges around the world. And those challenges didn't come because of physical challenges, financial challenges, maybe a little bit related, but those challenges of mental well-being of people came because people lost the sense of belonging, sense of connection. And sense of connection gives us the meaning in terms of understanding our role in this world. By working together, we understand that individual unique value we can bring to the collective work. And having that sense of meaning makes us feel that we belong to the company, to the community, to the world together. So these are the things that really matters to transform our world today. And again, I say the sustainability topic. For the sustainability, we need to actually change our perspective a little bit so that we can start taking action and so that we can start seeing the opportunity instead of just the big problems. So I want to give you another way to kind of turn the perspective around this sustainability topic. To me, sustainability is actually longevity, linked to the longevity issue. So I think many of us in this world today know that more and more our lives are actually like supported by advanced medical technology, and we might have an average lifespan that is longer than our grandparents' generation. So living long is actually becoming more common. But so many of us may be kind of worried about the longevity issue because we want to stay well and live long and then stay like well and happy as well. So longevity is one thing that at the personal level, lots of people think about, but this in the business world, the longevity is not talked about. Because we talked so much about profit maximization and how quickly we will grow and succeed and become famous or make more money. But not many people talk about how long our business actually lasts. So today, let me show you interesting statistics about business longevity. Now, when we look at the statistics in the world and look at the businesses that are more than 200 years old, the breakdown becomes like this. So Japan has more than 50% of longest living businesses. And Japan has something around 5% of the global population. So for the one tiny island country to have more than 50% of longest lasting and living companies is actually quite interesting. Why is this happening? And not only that, let me show you a photo of this business, which is one of the longest lasting businesses, also in Japan, but in the world. So this business started in year 718. So it's actually going through so many generations. And so when you think about what makes some of these businesses really successful in terms of lasting long rather than making more money, then you find an interesting idea behind this success. So most of those 200-year plus old businesses are actually family businesses. And family businesses have something that is kind of unique compared to normal like a corporate businesses. So let me just give you example of 3 pillars or like the key common ideas around the family business. So family businesses, first of all, have a family thinking. And so what happened is in Japanese case, even family businesses sometimes have challenges such as, oh, the family didn't have any more children, or okay, the children didn't want to inherit the family business anymore because they are interested in something else, or they had a dispute and they broke up, or so. These things could happen to family businesses as well, right? Like nobody to inherit the business. But what Japanese businesses, those especially the long-lasting ones do, is quite unique because they tend to take young apprentice into family business. So there are young people who want to go into a particular type of business, and because this particular family business has great reputation, so it attracts like young people to come and join them, and they actually live and breathe with the family. And when they grow up, some cases, when the family business itself doesn't have direct blood-related descendant, they might say to their apprentice, that we would love you to become actually our family. And they adopt a grown-up adult to continue the family business as well. So this practice is actually quite common in Japan, especially before. So that's why like some of these businesses can be generation, like last generation after generation. But another thing is that they contain, like they keep the family thinking in the family business. So family businesses has to have a long-term thinking. They can't think of just maximizing quarterly earning, but they need to think about next generation. And they also need to have empathy because the families members are connected with each other. So they're not just thinking about who gets more, who gets paid more, who works less, or all these things. But when challenges happen to any one of family members, they tend to really come together and they are actually all contributing to the family legacy. And finally, family businesses tend to maximize the creation of trust because they know that within the family, they have to have a trust, but also within the community that they are surrounded by, they need to have a trust. So taking care of customers, taking care of the community, or farmers taking care of soil, like all of that is actually an important element of cultivating the sustainability for generation after generation. Mother Teresa once said this: the problem with the world is that we draw our family circle too small. This is a profound quote because it's just so simple, but perhaps it has some truth in this, that today we have so much good in the world, so much resources, so much abundance, so much wealth, so much potential, technology, knowledge, everything. But when we draw our family circle so small, and we only think about our direct descendant and accumulate and hold our wealth, whilst knowing that there are so many children in the world who actually cannot even complete the primary school education or don't even have access to decent clean water. If we only realized that we are part of this global family, there is so much we can do to create real sustainability for everyone. Now, the concept of profit maximization was the key idea behind all of the business education previously. And the MBA program was really about training the next generation of leaders to be very good at this. And there's nothing wrong about that. But if this was the primary focus and the only focus, it's create a problem because we created such advanced technology or methodology to be able to maximize profit without taking care of the environment and the next generation of people that follow us. So today's world, what's required is the profit that we are creating. We need to understand that the reason why we need profit is to maximize our purpose and meaning, but at the same time to create the impact and then maximize the real impact that benefit not only our business, but also the greater world. Because today, if all of us only took care of our own needs and our own business needs, then we know that one day we are going to be facing the world where we cannot thrive anymore ourselves. So this is our shared responsibility to be taking care of the world together and doing our little part to make a difference and give back. Like it's not even giving back, it's actually giving forward, and that will circulate to come back to us as well and benefit our own children and grandchildren. So here is the picture of bee again. And it's a simple act of pollination. There's nothing complicated. That every time we receive a gift, every time we sell a product, we serve a customer, we can actually be grateful. And we can also think about the people who are part of the supply chain or global ecosystem to enable our life, our business. Because today we live in this interconnected web of the world. Everything we do is supported by amazing number of people who we may never, ever meet. but those people also have their lives and their children. And we have a shared responsibility to make sure that every child would receive access to opportunities. So one thing I wanted to do today, I will stop talking soon, so you can think about your question and comment. But one thing I want to do for now is to invite you to take part in the little impacts we get to create today together. So if you have your mobile phone, which normally you will be told, like, don't have your mobile phone on when you are listening to teachers or like the seminar, you shouldn't be distracted. But today you can have your mobile phone and scan this QR code and select the impact you want to create by being part of this session. And if you enjoyed this session and you are curious about how like you could perhaps work with B1G1 to create impacts, then you can let us know about that as well. But regardless, the impact you choose, I make it happen, because every time I speak, every time I have a great meeting, then I want to make a positive impact in the world to celebrate that. So thank you for listening patiently. And Doug, I'm very happy for you to jump in and facilitate any additional thoughts, questions, sharing. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for really a great story and a great inspiration for all of us. I love how you started and finished that theme of, sometimes we get caught up in trying to make some big, great impact, and really the answer is just right in front of us to take a small step. And as others have said, sometimes just taking the next step is the way forward, and that's what you did. I'd love to open up to any questions that people have. Either unmute yourself or raise your hand. Either is an opportunity to ask a question and to share a comment. I'm curious if any of you, through listening to Masami, can relate to either something that you've been through or a moment when you've thought about making a big impact and you've taken a different path that wasn't like the big answer, but the smaller answer ended up being a bigger answer, or at least that's certainly one way to look at it. So feel free to ask a question if you'd like. And while we're waiting for folks to come up with those or figure out where the raise the hand button is, or whatever's appropriate, and feel just free to unmute yourself as well. Oh,
Alexandra has a thought or a question.
Yes, hello. Oh, I just want to say thank you so much for this presentation. It's amazing to see just the impact that your company is making and just your organization is making. And just to introduce myself, my name is Alexandra. I'm actually working as part of Global Chamber HQ for the summer. So just trying to help out with Global Chamber here and there. But I do have a big interest in Japan. I recently graduated college and studied international relations and Japanese, and I'm planning to go to live in Yokohama for 10 months to improve my Japanese language skills with a focus on like business utilization and possibly marketing. But so I'm very curious in terms of just Japanese business culture as well, and you talked a little bit about it in your presentation. And from my understanding, Japanese businesses can sort of have this reputation of being rather rigid or maybe difficult to change, very traditional. And so I'm curious, like, is that almost part of the longevity that has allowed Japanese businesses to stay afloat for so long? And sort of what your views are maybe on some of that rigidity in Japanese business culture. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think everything have like a multidimensional size, right? And I must say that when I was growing up in Japan, and the reason I left Japan 30 years ago was because I felt kind of like almost I didn't fit in, or I felt that I was limited, by external expectation about by others in Japan, or because Japan is a culture where we try to fit with each other. We don't want to do something that offend each other and stuff like that, if you know Japanese culture. So for me, like going out of the world and traveling around, running my businesses and being away from Japan, after so many years, I started to see the real gift of what I actually learned in Japan. And then the good side of Japan is that there is so much of collective thinking, that the people actually do things. They do extraordinary things to benefit each other for the common good. And there is a lot of sacrifice that the people make. And sometimes when it goes to the extent of too much sacrifice, right? Like, so, and then it happens because, not because you want to give up, so much, but it's because it's expectation, and you are not willing to actually do something out of status quo. And if that becomes a huge stress, yes, like suicidal rate or stress rate, like those kind of things could be quite high in Japanese businesses. But at the same time, what we know is that the Japanese businesses are reputed for making lots of small improvement collectively, or actually having extraordinary way of service, that the people seems to be really dedicated to service, not just because they get paid more or they get the tips more, but they do because that's who they are, and they care about the collective good, and they care about service. So there are like different sides in like a good part, and also not so serving part, in terms of what's actually good for the well-being of the people. But at the same time, I think what we can learn from all of these examples is that actually when people come together in service to each other and for common good, that's create actually more sustainability than in an environment where everything is oriented in individual success and competition. So I would not say, I'm saying that actually the way for business is the Japanese way of doing business. But as a Japanese person who also learned in the later part of my life about the kind of like a magic of some of the business philosophies from Japan, I can say that there are some interesting things that we can learn from Japanese businesses that we can bring into this like global business space as well. So to actually blend the unique individual kind of thinking, creativity, freedom, like those kind of values with some of the things that we can learn from these from other cultures. Thank you for the question, Alexandra.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Simon.
Alexandra. Simon has a question too. Welcome.
Thank you. Masami, first of all, that was very inspiring. I loved hearing your story. My question is that I've been part of many organizations in the past that utilize these type of things as more of a marketing type strategy, also for morale for their employees and team members and whatnot. What are your thoughts on that in making a difference? Because it does provide a difference. There is meaning behind it, but there is some self-interest there.
So that's really a great question too. When we first started to be B1G1 18 years ago, nobody was looking for sustainability solution at all. Because everybody was busy growing their business and making money. So when we spoke with business people at that time, we weren't saying that giving was good for your business necessarily. We were saying that as a business owner, you probably had a dream when you started, and you probably cared about something. And you perhaps want to do something meaningful in your business to make a difference. Then even 18 years ago, there were plenty of business owners who resonated with the messaging, of power of small, making a difference, and they joined without necessarily questioning whether that was actually going to drive more business for them or anything like that. I think trend comes and go. right? Like, so we've seen many trends over the last 18 years. Sometimes like cause marketing became a bit trendy, and then it faced a backlash of greenwashing. And then today we got ESG trend that every large companies and investment firms are thinking about ESG because you have to say something about the ESG, otherwise you're gonna face consequences. So I think there are lots of things that the businesses might kind of reluctantly do because it's expected, or they feel guilty, or they just think that it's the way to make themselves look good or something. But if the intention of why businesses are doing those things is actually not aligned with their values and culture, I think that gets conveyed to the employees or customers because it doesn't, like that sense of caring doesn't get felt in the day-to-day business, right? Like, so what we see as the true sustainability or true benefits of taking positive action or is that you come from the genuine understanding that doing good is important. Doing good aligns with our values and the culture and the mission of the business. And if the leadership of the companies are actually genuine, they actually feel for it. They feel that their business legacy and success can actually uplift the people. And by doing so, they feel greater sense of motivation and stronger sense of purpose to keep growing their business so that they can do more good. If there is alignment between the intent of business and the action of the business and the outcome of the business, that's when whatever that they are doing can have a true impact. And when we do something, sometimes we make mistakes. So, like in the area of sustainability or social impact, we've seen this a lot that sometimes we see like, oh, here is a poverty, like there are orphans. So we have to go and help these poor people. And when we actually start our work by seeing kind of ourselves better than them, so we have to help, or we should help, or we can help them, and not coming from the humanity and the gratitude of being able to work together, to create something good together with the people who also have an amazing quality and amazing circumstances that they are facing. When we work together in this way, even if the initial approach didn't work out as expected, we will always be able to find a new way forward. We will always think about creating leaders and respecting each other. And so I think now the fact that every company has more intention to want to do good is a great thing. But at the same time, understanding that we may not be perfect, but we want to inspire people, and communicating why we do what we do, or communicating the impact that we are creating. If we come with that humanity and humility and empathy, then our message will resonate more. But the reason of communicating is not to show off, but because we can inspire more businesses and more people to join in the collective work.
Thank you very much. That was very insightful.
Yeah.
But just because we're getting close to we usually like to stop at the 55-minute mark, so that only leaves us a few minutes. I'm wondering if we could wrap it up with maybe a couple things from you, Masami. One is, what's next for you? What are you looking to do next? How do you see the next year, decade, or whatever time frame that you're looking at? And then what other things would you like to leave with us today?
So every phase of our business development or our work, we kind of went through doing things that we thought was the way to go, and then realizing there's another dimension to how we can achieve things. So what we are realizing today is like, okay, it's great. We've worked with many, small to medium-sized businesses so far, but how we made those things happen is by us showing up, by us turning up to meetings and talking to people, having coffee with people and talk about this idea. And then little by little, those business people came to us, and then we started to work together. So it's been amazing. But then actually, when we look at where our world is at, we have to make impact much faster, much more. Many more businesses, many more individuals can be part of something like this so that they feel that they can take small actions and be part of positive future, positive change that they get to create. And then our realization is that when we are thinking that we have to do all of the work to do the marketing, to do everything, then it's quite slow. And it's not bad, like we're not trying to just fast track something, but we see now an opportunity such as the organizations and networks around the world or thought leaders in the space who have already their own circle of connections. And what we need to get better at is to actually find better ways to collaborate with the other organizations that already have amazing networks and community of, either SMEs or individual professional people. Or so today is like one of the example, right, Doug? Because we connected to kind of online, and you followed my LinkedIn post, and and then as a result, this is my second time to appear on your global webinar, but I also connected with some of your lovely members in America as well as the United Kingdom so far. And this kind of collaboration is, I think that's what matters today. Because then we can achieve so much more effectively and efficiently. So yeah, so those of you who feel inspired and want to kind of like check out this kind of work, then please do so. But whether or not this is for you, if you feel inspired and mention it to somebody else, then please do, because that act of pollination is actually something that we want to really like ignite. And then we do want to see the world where regardless of whether or not B1G1 like our organization is involved, we want to see the world where every business is doing something for collective good. And one day, if the world became a world that the charity is no longer needed, because every problem is solved by the activities of businesses on its own, then I think that's also a great outcome.
Absolutely. I love so much, really everything that you're talking about, the giving spirit, the connectivity you talk about, the overall feeling of belonging, not just within our own company, but within the community and the community at large. That idea of our nuclear family being built out to be really the global tribe, or what we call the global tribe, that we should be caring about not just who's right next to us, but beyond and expanding the circle. You've been able to see that, you've been able to do something about it, and it's inspiring. So thank you for speaking today. Thank you for being connected to Global Chamber. And we look forward to collaborating and working with you going forward. What would the next step be if someone is interested in participating and to learning more and to helping?
Yeah, so if you didn't submit the form and then let me know that you are interested, then you could still do so. I don't know if I can still put a link there or something. Let me just share the screen again. So actually you can capture the QR code. And if you don't have an internet connection, please just take a photo or something. You can do it later. But another thing you can do is, of course, you can go to b1g1.com and find out more from our website. And also, if you enjoyed some of the concept that I talked about, then please find me on LinkedIn and then connect with me and follow my newsletter or update, because I tend to write about the kind of things I talked about, but there are a lot more other kind of ideas that I share in my newsletter about some of the Japanese business philosophies, but also some of the stories that I experienced. And so thank you once again, Doug, for the opportunity you've given us to share our ideas and stories with your amazing network of business people. And I look forward to continuing our relationship so that we can together ignite and create more impacts in the world.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining. If you're watching this on video and you're not able to either use the QR code or some other issue, just send an info@globalchamber.org message. Just reach out to us and we'll be happy to connect you to Masami. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yoroshiku. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。Bye. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.
See you.
Thanks, Jen. How are you feeling, Jen?
Still dizzy, Doug.
Oh, okay. Oh, we have a meeting in a half hour. Hopefully you can get a little bit of rest. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.